All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling Scott Galloway's The Algebra of Wealth. It's a deep dive into financial wisdom. And, what's great about Galloway is that he doesn't just give us theories. He offers practical advice, no-nonsense advice, really from his own journey.
Yeah, I think what's really refreshing about his approach is that he really lays it all out there. He doesn't shy away from, the anxieties people are facing right now,
Like
rising costs.
stagnant wages.
Yeah, and frankly, sometimes it feels like the system's rigged against us.
He doesn't just leave us hanging, though. He doesn't just lay out the problems. He actually offers practical strategies that anyone can use
Right.
to navigate these challenges.
Exactly.
It's almost like he's giving us the playbook he wishes he had,
Yeah.
when he was starting out.
Yeah, I love that about his writing. He's very transparent about his own, journey and his mistakes.
Remember that anecdote about how he, completely blew off retirement savings early in his career?
Yeah.
Talk about a high-risk approach, right?
It's fascinating how that almost reckless attitude actually worked out for him.
It did.
He built multiple successful businesses. I mean, he achieved financial independence. But, and this is a big but,
Yep.
he admits that path was way more stressful than it needed to be.
Right.
And that's why I think, he wrote this book. He wanted to distill those principles that could have gotten him to the same place, maybe with a little less stress along the way.
Right. And for those of us who, aren't necessarily going to be founding the next unicorn company,
Right.
that's gold, right?
Absolutely.
So let's unpack some of these principles.
Yeah.
And I want to start with his emphasis on character. It's not a word you typically hear in a finance book.
Right.
But Galloway makes a really strong case for why it's the foundation of building wealth.
I think what he's getting at is that, who we are, that really dictates our actions, and ultimately our actions are what lead to those financial outcomes, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about, setting up a budget or picking the right investments.
Mhm.
It's about that deeper level of self-awareness.
Yeah. And in a world where we're constantly bombarded with, ads, the buy now button,
Yeah.
that self-awareness is more important than ever. It's like she's saying, you can have all the budgeting apps and investment strategies in the world,
Right.
but if you haven't addressed the underlying why
Yeah.
behind your spending habits,
Yeah.
you're not going to see those lasting results.
Yeah, and he even ties it back to our biology almost.
Right.
We're all hardwired to crave certain things,
Right.
sugar, fat, salt.
Mm-hmm.
And capitalism kind of understands this, right?
Yeah.
And almost exploits those cravings to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
So building good financial habits, it really requires that deeper understanding of ourselves and how we react to those constant temptations.
I thought that his anecdote about his son losing a glove on a ski trip to Courchevel was really fascinating.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story.
Can you imagine losing a glove in Courchevel?
I can only imagine how much that must have cost.
But, it's not really about the money. It's about how we attach value to things and how that really shapes our priorities.
Yeah, it's almost like a parable, right?
Yeah.
The lost glove becomes this symbol of our constant desire for more,
Right.
more. And I think what Galloway's getting at is, what if we took a step back
Mm-hmm.
and really focused on what truly matters, those experiences, those relationships, those things that bring genuine joy.
So how do we cultivate that contentment?
Right.
That self-awareness in a world that's constantly telling us, we need more.
Yeah.
Well, Galloway actually, he offers some really insightful strategies.
He does.
One that stood out to me was this idea of mental darkness.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's a technique for dealing with negativity.
Right.
Whether it's from difficult people or just those situations that drain your energy
Yeah.
and leave you feeling depleted.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it's about acknowledging the situation, understand what you can learn from it, and then kind of mentally moving on.
So it's not about ignoring the problem. It's
Okay.
about being more deliberate about where you're investing your energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cast those toxic people or situations into the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and just focus on what you can control.
I like that.
He also emphasizes the importance of exercise,
Oh, yeah.
not just for physical health, but for peak mental performance.
I can see how that would tie in.
When you feel good physically, you you tend to make better decisions, right?
Absolutely.
It's almost like creating that mental resilience that you need
Yeah.
to navigate financial choices.
Right.
Speaking of choices, Galloway has this really practical framework, and I thought this really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It's prioritize understanding market competition.
Okay.
Listen to your emotions, but don't let them rule you.
Okay.
Seek counsel from trusted advisors,
Mm-hmm.
and this one's a bit morbid but powerful.
Okay.
Make decisions with memento mori in mind,
Memento mori meaning.
meaning remember you will die. It's a Stoic philosophy,
Okay.
that encourages us to live each day with an awareness of our mortality.
I see.
Sounds a bit gloomy, but Galloway explains how considering his own mortality helps him prioritize what truly matters,
Yeah.
and make bolder decisions, knowing that our time is limited.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a gut check, a way to evaluate whether your choices are really aligning with your long-term goals and values.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good framework.
And part of that decision-making process is building, a network of trusted advisors.
Right.
People you can go to for honest feedback and advice, especially when it comes to money.
And it's a big proponent of having those open and honest conversations about finances with, the people you trust, whether
Yeah.
it's friends or mentors or even, potential partners.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to talk about money.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from the tougher topics like divorce,
Right.
which he calls, and I quote, the biggest wealth destroyer.
Oh, wow.
His advice.
Yeah.
Find a partner who's financially compatible,
Mm.
and shares your values when it comes to money. It might seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people overlook this.
Yeah, and he even gets into the seemingly small things like the importance of tipping well.
Wait, tipping well leads to financial success.
Well, not directly,
I do.
but it's about cultivating those micro habits, of generosity and thinking beyond yourself. And those small choices over time, they really do shape our character and ultimately influence our relationship with money.
It's like that saying, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Precisely. And on that note, he also cautions against, comparing ourselves to others, especially when it comes to investments. You never know the full story.
Right.
Someone might be, flashing their latest, stock market win, but you don't see the losses that they're hiding.
Social media is full of those highlight reels.
Exactly.
The reality is much more complex.
So the key takeaway there is to focus on your own journey.
Mm-hmm.
Learn from your wins and losses and just avoid that comparison trap.
Mm-hmm.
It's a recipe for unhappiness and poor financial decisions.
Okay, so we've established that character is crucial.
Right.
But what about talent? How does that factor into the equation? Galloway has a really interesting perspective on this.
Yeah, he does.
He defines talent as anything that comes easily to you, but it's difficult for others.
Okay.
And it's not just about, traditional skills like playing the piano or writing code.
Right.
It's about recognizing those strengths that might not seem obvious at first.
Okay.
He has this anecdote about working in investment banking.
Oh, yeah.
And he frankly admits he wasn't the most naturally gifted analyst.
Right.
But he outworked everyone because of his just his sheer grit and determination.
So it's a good example of, how persistence and dedication can outweigh raw talent, especially in those less glamorous, non-passion-driven careers that, let's face it, most of us end up in at some point.
Yeah.
And speaking of careers, Galloway offers some really insightful advice on navigating those choices, breaking down the paths we can take and how our talents sort of intersect with those decisions.
He talks about the difference between a job, a profession, and an industry.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really helpful framework for thinking about your career trajectory.
Absolutely.
He makes a compelling case for starting your career during an economic downturn.
Yeah, which seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But I see his point.
It's about, you have this opportunity to kind of imprint a more disciplined, scrappy DNA on the company culture.
Right.
He also challenges this whole follow your passion mantra,
right,
at least early on. Instead, he advocates for prioritizing financial security first.
Yeah.
then pursuing those passions once you have, a solid foundation.
It's a more pragmatic approach.
Yeah.
Recognizing that passion often follows mastery, and that having those financial resources, it gives you the freedom to explore different avenues later on.
He even suggests considering, those less glamorous but potentially lucrative fields that people often overlook.
Right.
All right, so let's dive into some specific career paths.
Yeah, let's do it.
He really goes deep on the pros and cons of each. One that might surprise some people is academia.
Right.
A path, many people find appealing for the intellectual rewards.
Absolutely.
But as Galloway points out, the financial realities can be tough, especially for those who aren't, tenured professors.
Yeah, he's not saying it's a bad choice.
Right.
But he's just encouraging people to go in with eyes wide open,
Right.
understand the trade-offs.
Then there's management consulting, interesting work, high pay.
Right.
But long hours, demanding clients, and let's be honest, sometimes it can be a bit soul-crushing.
Right.
He points out that, while consulting can be a fantastic way to gain diverse experience, it's often a stepping stone to something else.
Right.
It's not necessarily a lifelong career path.
Right.
And then there's, the perennial favorite, finance.
Yeah, a golden handcuffs.
Incredible compensation.
Right.
But, high pressure, intense competition, and potentially a very skewed work-life balance.
Yeah.
He's not saying these are bad choices.
Right.
But that you need to understand what you're getting into and whether it aligns with, your values and long-term goals. And then just when you think he's covered all the usual suspects, he throws in this curveball.
Oh, it's that.
Airline pilot.
Oh, wow.
He uses it as an example of, identifying your talents and limitations. He loves aviation, fascinated by planes.
Yeah.
But acknowledges that he just doesn't have the temperament or the skills to be a pilot.
Right.
It's a great reminder to be honest with yourself.
Absolutely.
About your strengths and weaknesses when making those big career decisions.
Yeah.
So now that we've explored some potential career paths, let's get into his practical advice for actually navigating those choices and advancing in your chosen field.
Yeah, let's get tactical.
He's a big advocate for relocating to cities if possible. It's about access, to opportunities, to mentors, to networks, and even just that social environment that can accelerate your growth.
Right.
He also emphasizes the importance of being, physically present in the office, especially early in your career.
Yeah, I think that's still important.
It's about building those, those face-to-face relationships, showing your commitment, and frankly, just putting yourself out there in a way that's harder to do remotely.
Right.
Then there's this concept he calls gravity problems.
Gravity problems.
Those obstacles that you can't control, whether it's a toxic boss or a dying industry or just a general lack of opportunity. His advice.
Yeah.
Know when to quit or pivot. Don't be afraid to seek advice from trusted individuals.
Yeah.
And remember that sometimes the best decision is to walk away and find a better situation.
Right.
It's like that old Kenny Rogers song,
Oh, yeah.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Love it.
And part of knowing when to fold them is understanding your market value and being willing to negotiate for what you're worth.
Right.
He encourages strategic job switching and regular market checks as a way to boost your compensation. He even shares his own experience negotiating, salary increases at NYU, leveraging offers from other universities to get what he deserved. It's about knowing your worth and not being afraid to advocate for yourself. He also talks about applying that quick wins strategy from management consulting to your personal development.
Okay, how's that work?
It's about identifying those small achievable goals that can create momentum and lead to bigger wins down the road.
Okay.
And finally, he provides this great framework for prioritizing recreational activities. Because let's face it, we can't do it all.
Right.
He encourages us to be, ruthless in our prioritization, walking away from things that aren't, serving us.
Right.
Even if we've invested, a lot of time in them in the past. It's about aligning your choices with your values and goals, creating a life that's both fulfilling and financially secure. And that brings us to one of the most fundamental concepts in finance.
Okay.
Compounding.
Compounding. It's the financial equivalent of a snowball rolling downhill. Yeah.
Gets bigger and bigger over time.
But Galloway, he goes beyond just financial returns. And he explains how compounding applies to expenses, to inflation, to habits, even relationships.
Whoa.
It's this powerful force that can work for us or against us.
Right.
So understanding it is crucial for long-term wealth building.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't shy away from the dark side of compounding.
Yeah.
Namely the insidious effects of inflation.
Right.
He calls it our primordial foe.
Oh, wow.
That silent thief that's constantly, eroding the value of our money. He makes this important distinction between real and nominal financial metrics.
Right.
It's about understanding that $100 today isn't the same as $100 10 years from now, thanks to inflation. Yeah. So how do we combat this insidious foe?
Well, we've got to harness the power of compounding in our favor.
Right. And it starts with investing early and often, putting our money to work so that it grows faster than inflation can eat away at it.
Okay, so we've covered character, talent, career choices, and the power of compounding. What else is in this treasure trove of wisdom?
Well, Galloway then kind of shifts gears a little bit,
right,
and dives into the importance of mastering the present moment.
Okay.
His argument is that we're often terrible at understanding time.
Yeah.
We tend to foreshorten it, overestimate our future abilities, and let our emotions kind of cloud our judgment.
He tells this fascinating story about his childhood fascination with airplanes.
Oh, yeah, I love that story.
And how it led him to buy his own jet later in life.
Which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's a great example of how our early experiences and desires can really shape our later decisions, even if those decisions aren't, entirely rational. And he has some pretty strong words about social media.
Oh yeah, he's not a fan.
Calling it, one of the greatest wealth destroyers, especially for young people.
Yeah.
He argues that, it robs us of valuable time. That could be spent, building our careers, nurturing relationships, or even just, enjoying life offline.
Right.
His advice.
Yeah.
Use technology strategically, for time management, for productivity.
Right.
And be mindful of how social media can be, this time suck.
Yeah.
Galloway, he's a firm believer in ruthless prioritization and focused attention. He doesn't try to do everything.
Yeah.
But he gives 100% to the things that matter most.
Yeah.
And he reminds us that youth has this unique advantage.
What's that?
Abundance of time.
Yeah, we do.
It's about leveraging that asset wisely, making the most of the present moment. Because, as we've established, time is that one resource we can never get back.
Absolutely. And this kind of leads us to the more practical side of things.
Yeah.
Building strong financial habits.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
It's all well and good to talk about, these big ideas, but how do we actually put those principles into practice?
Right. Well, Galloway, he emphasizes the importance of managing spending and tracking expenses diligently. And it sounds basic.
Yeah.
But so many people struggle with this. He even shares, this funny anecdote about living on top ramen and bananas during college, to save money for tuition and fraternity bills.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that even small, consistent savings can have, huge impact over time.
And he encourages the use of, budgeting tools and techniques to gain control over your finances and build those, essential saving habits. He also advocates for setting realistic goals when it comes to saving. Avoiding those overly ambitious targets that can lead to discouragement,
right,
and ultimately, derail your efforts.
Yeah. It's like trying to run a marathon before you can even jog around the block, you know?
Hey.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
Start small, build those financial muscles, and then gradually increase the intensity.
Exactly.
He also introduces this concept of the waterline budget.
Okay.
Essentially, understanding your essential expenses,
Right.
and building your savings around that. He even gives practical example using this hypothetical young professional named Jack,
Right.
to illustrate how budget allocation works in real life.
So it's like a visual roadmap for where your money is going each month.
Yeah.
And helping you identify those areas where you can, trim expenses and boost savings.
Yeah, and let's not forget about debt.
Yeah.
Galloway acknowledges that it's often unavoidable, especially early in your career.
Yeah.
Student loans, car payments.
That first credit card.
Yeah.
It can feel like you're starting the race, a few steps behind.
Yeah, it's like you're constantly playing catch up.
Right.
But he emphasizes the importance of being, smart about it.
Mm-hmm.
Avoiding, those high interest credit card traps.
Right.
And making consistent payments to keep things under control.
Absolutely.
He even encourages, building savings while paying down debt, even if it's just, a small amount each month. It's about, cultivating those good financial habits from the start.
Yeah, it's about building those muscles.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the world of investing.
Okay.
Which can seem intimidating.
Yeah.
For those who are new to the game.
Absolutely.
This is where things can get really complicated. Right?
Yeah, all that Wall Street jargon.
There's complicated charts.
Right.
It's easy to feel lost. But Galloway, he breaks down the basics of the financial market and how it operates in a way that's really easy to understand.
He does a good job at that.
He explains the different investment options available. From stocks and bonds to real estate, commodities, even those mysterious things called derivatives.
Oh yeah, those can be scary.
He covers it all in a way that feels approachable.
Mm-hmm.
Even if...
So, we were talking before about how Galloway breaks down these complex financial concepts and makes them really understandable. One of the things that I really appreciated was, how he doesn't just focus on the numbers.
Right.
He really digs into the psychology of money, how our emotions can sometimes sabotage even our best intentions.
Yeah, he reminds us that, we're not always these perfectly rational actors when it comes to money.
Right.
We're influenced by our upbringing, our experiences, our emotions. All those things can cloud our judgment.
Right.
And lead to those oops moments.
Yeah.
With our bank accounts. He even has a name for it, stupidity.
Stupidity, huh?
And he doesn't mean it in a derogatory way.
Okay.
He's talking about those decisions that we make that not only harm ourselves but potentially others as well.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as those facepalm moments, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you look back and think, what was I thinking?
We've all been there, and it's a refreshing take, I think, because it acknowledges that we all make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Even the so-called financial gurus. The key is to learn from those mistakes and avoid repeating them, and build that self-awareness so that we can make smarter choices in the future.
And one of the biggest areas where people make those stupid decisions, as Galloway calls them, is with debt.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like this invisible force that can creep up on you, especially early in your career.
Yeah, he doesn't demonize debt entirely.
Right.
He recognizes that, it's often a necessary evil, especially when it comes to things like student loans,
right,
or a mortgage. But the problem is when debt becomes a crutch. A way to kind of maintain a lifestyle that you can't actually afford. He has this great analogy.
Oh, yeah.
About debt being like this beautiful, charming person
Mm-hmm.
who offers you a drink. The first few drinks are great, you're feeling good, but then you wake up the next morning with a hangover and a pile of regrets.
It's about understanding the true cost of debt.
Mm-hmm.
That those seemingly small interest payments can add up over time.
Yeah,
And really eat away at your financial freedom.
absolutely.
So how do we avoid falling into that debt trap?
Yeah.
Well, Galloway, he offers some really practical advice.
Okay.
Starting with understanding the different types of debt
Mm-hmm.
and their associated interest rates.
Yeah.
He breaks it down pretty simply.
Yeah.
There's good debt.
Okay.
And there's bad debt.
Okay, so good debt.
Good debt is typically low interest.
Okay.
Used to invest in appreciating assets like a house or an education.
Yeah.
Bad debt is high interest, often used to fund consumption that quickly loses value.
Right.
Like credit cards,
Yeah.
payday loans.
Yeah.
And his advice is to be strategic about debt.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna take on debt, make sure it's for something that will increase your net worth over time.
Right.
Not just provide temporary gratification.
I see.
And he encourages people to negotiate with creditors
Mm-hmm.
if they're struggling to make payments.
Right.
It's about being proactive.
Yeah.
Taking control of your situation rather than just letting things spiral out of control. He even suggests exploring debt consolidation options,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have multiple high interest loans. Sometimes simplifying your debt structure
Mm-hmm.
and getting a lower interest rate can be a game changer.
Right.
And speaking of game changers,
Yeah.
let's talk about one of the most powerful tools for building wealth.
Okay.
Retirement accounts. It's one of those things that feels so far off
Yeah.
when you're young.
Absolutely.
It's like, why worry about retirement when you're just trying to make rent?
You're just trying to survive.
Yeah, but Galloway makes a compelling case for starting early, even if it's just a small amount each month. It's about harnessing the power of compounding, that snowball effect, where your money's grows exponentially over time.
Right.
He provides this great overview of the different types of retirement accounts, from 401ks and IRAs to Roth IRAs, and even self-directed IRAs. He explains the benefits of tax-deferred savings
Mm-hmm.
and employer matching contributions.
Yeah, essentially free money.
Free money, yeah, that you're leaving on the table if you're not contributing. And he also dives into the differences between traditional and Roth accounts,
Mm-hmm.
helping you decide which option is best for your individual situation and long-term goals.
Right.
It's about taking the time to understand the different options
Mm-hmm.
and making informed choices that align with your financial plan.
Right.
And he emphasizes that retirement planning isn't just about saving money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about creating a vision for your future self.
Yeah.
What do you want your life to look like in 20, 30, even 40 years?
Yeah.
What kind of financial freedom do you need to achieve those goals?
It's about shifting that mindset from saving for retirement to investing in your future.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the Algebra of Wealth. We've covered a lot of ground, from career choices and investing strategies to building those essential financial habits. But in this final part, I want to explore some of the broader themes that really underpin Galloway's approach to wealth building. One of the things I found really fascinating about this book is how he connects personal finance to this larger system of capitalism.
Yeah, he makes a really interesting point. He argues that to truly master your finances, you need to understand how the game is played.
Yeah, it's like he's saying you can't just focus on your own little corner of the board.
Right.
You need to see the whole chessboard to make strategic moves.
Exactly. And he actually provides a really clear, concise overview of how capitalism works,
Mm-hmm.
explaining concepts like supply and demand, the role of financial markets,
Yeah.
and the importance of, understanding valuation. And he does it in a way that's accessible, even if you don't have an economics degree.
Yeah.
He even delves into the history of, corporations, explaining how they evolved into this dominant force in the modern economy.
Just like a crash course in economic history, but without the boring lectures.
Right, exactly. And then he also discusses, the different players in the financial system, from banks and investment firms to governments and individual investors. And he really highlights how interconnected everything is. How our individual financial decisions are influenced by, these larger economic forces and vice versa. It's a reminder that we're not just playing solitaire here. We're
Right.
part of this complex system. And understanding how that system works can really give us an advantage. One of the most valuable takeaways from this section, I thought, was this idea that money is essentially a way to exchange time.
Mm-hmm.
We trade our time for money,
Right.
and then use that money to buy the time of others.
It's a simple concept, but it really reframes how you think about work, spending, even investing. You're not just earning dollars.
Right.
You're essentially trading, your life energy for something of value.
Yeah. And he also talks about the role of markets in determining prices, and how the forces of supply and demand, they really shape our economic choices. It's like this invisible hand almost that's guiding our decisions, even when we don't realize it. He even gets into the concept of arbitrage, highlighting how savvy individuals can profit from those market inefficiencies.
It's about recognizing those opportunities where you can essentially buy low and sell high, even if it's just with your time and skills. Now let's shift gears and talk about one of the foundations of Galloway's philosophy.
Okay.
Developing a strong work ethic.
Oh yeah, he's a big believer in that.
He's a firm believer that hard work is essential for achieving any kind of success, financial or otherwise. And he's not talking about, mindless hustle,
right,
or burning yourself out. It's more about having that internal drive, that commitment to excellence, and that willingness to put in the effort, even when it's not easy or glamorous. He shares his own experiences working long hours, making sacrifices to build his career.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to admit that that success takes effort. That there's no magic formula,
right,
or get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
He also emphasizes that even those who are naturally talented, they still need to put in the work to achieve their full potential.
Right. Talent without effort is like a seed that never gets planted. It has that potential to grow. But it needs that nurturing and dedication to really flourish.
And he also talks about the importance of finding a career that you enjoy, even if it's not your quote unquote passion.
Right. Right.
Sometimes passion follows mastery. The more you learn and grow in a particular field, the more passionate you become about it. It's about finding that sweet spot where your skills and interests and the needs of the market align.
Yeah.
And he reminds us that our careers are more than just a way to earn a living. There are opportunities for growth, for learning, for making a positive impact on the world.
Yeah.
Now let's circle back to one of the core themes of the Algebra of Wealth.
Okay.
The importance of character.
Yeah, that's a big one for him.
Galloway argues that character is the foundation of true success. Both financially and in life.
Absolutely.
And he defines character as a set of values and principles that guide our actions. Even when we're faced with temptation or adversity. It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard,
Right.
and staying true to your values. Even when it's inconvenient. He discusses the importance of honesty, integrity,
Mm-hmm.
strong work ethics,
Right.
those fundamental traits that build trust and respect.
Yeah.
He also emphasizes the importance of empathy, kindness, a willingness to help others.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that true success isn't just about accumulating wealth.
Right.
It's about using our resources to make a positive difference in the world, and leaving a legacy that goes beyond just our bank accounts.
Right.
And he reminds us that character isn't something we're born with. It's something we cultivate over time through our choices and actions, both big and small. It's about those everyday decisions that really shape who we are and how we show up in the world. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the algebra of wealth, let's consider this. What one action can you take today to strengthen your character?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It could be something as simple as expressing gratitude,
Hmm.
or offering help to someone in need, or making a commitment to honesty in all your dealings.
Yeah.
Remember, character is the foundation of a fulfilling and financially secure life.
And if you're looking for more insights and book summaries to fuel your personal growth journey, don't forget to subscribe to the One Book a Day YouTube channel.
And you can find a link to purchase the Algebra of Wealth on Amazon in the description below. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive and found some valuable insights to apply to your own life. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep